you, and I yield back.
Thank you. I'll recognize myself for 5 minutes. Rabbi Jacobs, I appreciate you being here today to testify. You have leveled some accusations against this committee that I just wanted to clarify. You said that we are demonizing teachers' unions. But it is true that the NEA recently voted to boycott the Anti-Defamation League. Do you agree with that decision to boycott the Anti-Defamation League?
I don't agree with that decision. We have heard a lot of vilification here of teachers' unions, of teachers, and of administrators, and that is not helpful to students.
But the NEA did vote to boycott the ADL, correct?
So the NEA and other organizations engage with many different types of material. I'll say that Trua's booklet on anti-Semitism is part of materials that are on the NEA website, but ultimately it's the school districts, not the unions, that are deciding on their curriculum.
Sure, but just to clarify, you do disagree with the decision the NEA made to boycott the ADL, correct?
I disagree with that decision.
Okay,
the question is how to move on from there, and I believe that we need to invest in education at the local level and beyond.
Sure, I understand that. I'm just saying, be careful, please, with the accusations that we're demonizing this group and that. When you actually agree with us about what they're doing is a very bad thing. You also noted that we have, you criticized us for a hyper-focus on anti-Semitism. So do you know roughly what % of the American population is Jewish?
It's about 2%.
And do you know last year what % of religious-based hate crimes were directed against Jewish individuals?
The majority of hate crimes are against Jewish individuals. That has been true for a long time.
69%. So 2% of the population, 69% of the hate crimes. So do you think that a hyper-focus on anti-Semitism, is that the right way to characterize our work?
Well, I'll say that the vast majority of hate crimes, particularly violent hate crimes against Jews and against other communities, are committed by people on the far right, and I don't see that this is...
I don't care who it's committed by. I think it's terrible whoever commits these crimes, and so I think that deriding us for focusing on the issue, I mean, Ms. Lerman, I think I got that statistic from your testimony. Is that right? 69% of religious-based hate crimes?
That's right. That's what's been...
Oh, Mike.
That's what's been reported by the ADL and the AJC.
And so, I mean, do you think that the problem is that we have too much of a focus on anti-Semitism given those facts?
I think you absolutely need to focus on this problem, which has become very large, and I don't really care whether it's from the right or from the left. There's some on both sides, but there's no point like arguing which is worse. We just need to address the problem.
Thank you very much. I couldn't agree more. And Dr. Shufutinsky, you've mentioned the liberated ethnic studies curricula that's going around, especially in California. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Sure, it's a version of ethnic studies that is actually rooted in the foundation of ethnic studies, which insists on putting people in either the oppressor category or the oppression category, depending on a couple of things: real or perceived success and skin color.
Yeah, and we actually had the superintendent of Berkeley Unified here last year, whose district has adopted that curriculum, and there was an example from a classroom that she defended, saying that from the river to the sea is a valid perspective that's being presented. I was actually in the state legislature in California when the legislature voted to mandate ethnic studies as a graduation requirement, and then at the same time, the Department of Education produced a model curriculum that was liberated ethnic studies, and it was so bad, it was so blatantly anti-Semitic that the California Legislative Jewish Caucus, which was about a dozen Democrat lawmakers actually, wrote a letter saying that this state-approved curriculum, quote, echoed the propaganda of the Nazi regime. I mean, what is it? This is their words, their actual words. What does that tell you, that a state-adopted curriculum that would have been a graduation requirement for every California student is likened to Nazi propaganda by leading Democrats in the state even?
I think it shows how pervasive anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish bigotry is in education. But I also want to say one other thing. It also shows the bait and switch. When people hear the words ethnic studies, they think it's the study of different ethnic groups. It's not. Most decent people would agree that students should be learning about all of the different communities that make up the fabric of our country. That's not what the discipline of ethnic studies is, which is why we saw the blatant anti-Semitism and still see it in multiple versions of ethnic studies curricula across the country.
It's a huge problem, and just to give the kind of end of this story, or at least where we are at right now, they did come up with a revised model curriculum in California, because even the governor had to say the original was offensive in so many ways and would never see the light of day. But then the group that came up with the original version split off, and they're the ones that are now offering this liberated version. But even the revised version has huge problems from the perspective of anti-Semitism. I raised these on the floor of the assembly at the time, but it still passed. And now there has since been an effort to try to address those before this graduation requirement takes effect, but there's huge lobbying against this by the very types of groups that we're talking about today. So unfortunately, I think that it is going to be necessary for our committee to do some real investigations and further oversight into what's happening precisely at schools like this and with curriculum like this in California and across the country. Ms. Lee of Pennsylvania is recognized.